The fluorescent lights above my hospital bed hummed like trapped insects. I counted the ceiling tiles, 27 across, 18 down. Anything to avoid looking at Nathan's face hovering over me with that practiced expression of concern. You gave us quite a scare, Clara. His hand rested on the metal bed rail, fingers drumming a rhythm only he could hear. Your mother's beside herself with worry. I shifted against the thin pillows, wincing as the incision site pulled. The appendectomy had gone smoothly, the surgeon said. Clean removal, no complications. But lying there in that sterile room, I felt anything but safe. Where is Mom? Getting coffee. You know how she gets in hospitals? Nathan adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses and smiled. I told her I'd stay with you. Someone needs to keep an eye on things. Keep an eye on things. The phrase sent ice water through my veins. A nurse entered, Mrs. Lopez, according to her badge. She was somewhere in her 50s, with silver threading through her dark hair and eyes that had seen too much to be easily fooled. She checked my IV without speaking, her movements efficient and professional. Nathan stepped closer. Nurse, I was hoping to discuss Clara's discharge paperwork. I handle all the family's medical affairs. The patient handles her own paperwork, Mr. Graves. She's 29, not a minor. Mrs. Lopez didn't look up from the IV bag. And hospital policy requires the patient's signature on all release forms. Of course, I simply meant, I know what you meant. Now she did look up, and her gaze could have cut glass. I'll bring the forms by later, Miss Bennett. When you're feeling up to it? Nathan's smile never faltered, but something changed in his posture. A tightness around his shoulders. We appreciate your diligence, nurse. After Mrs. Lopez left, Nathan pulled a chair close to my bed. Too close. These hospital staff can be so rigid about protocol. I'm only trying to help, Clara. You know that, don't you? I nodded, my throat dry. I did know. I knew exactly what kind of help Nathan offered. 3 days later, I was home. Mom fussed over me constantly, bringing soup and adjusting pillows, her hands fluttering like nervous birds. She'd lost weight since Nathan moved in 2 years ago. Her face had new lines I didn't remember from before. Mom, I'm fine, really. The doctor said you need rest. Nathan thinks? What do I think? Nathan appeared in my bedroom doorway, filling the frame with his presence. He wasn't a large man, but he had a way of occupying space that made rooms feel smaller. I think Clara should focus on recovery. No stress, no unnecessary phone calls or visitors. Just rest and healing. I have work emails to check. Already handled. I contacted your office and explained the situation. They've given you 2 weeks medical leave. He said it like a gift, but it felt like a cage door closing. That night, I couldn't sleep. Pain medication made my thoughts fuzzy, but not fuzzy enough to miss the soft click of my bedroom door opening around 2 a.m. I kept my eyes closed, breathing steady as footsteps crossed my floor. Nathan moved through my room, and I heard the subtle sound of drawers opening, papers rustling. He was searching for something. After he left, I waited 20 minutes before getting up. My laptop was exactly where I'd left it, but the browser history had been cleared. My desk drawers were slightly ajar. And there, in the corner near my bookshelf, was a tiny black lens I'd never noticed before. A camera. I stood there in the darkness, staring at that lens, and felt my world realign around a single, terrible truth. Nathan had been watching me. Probably for months. Maybe longer. The next morning, I told Mom I needed to pick up medication from the pharmacy. Instead, I drove to a coffee shop 3 miles away and called my college roommate, Sarah. Clara, God, I haven't heard from you in months. I tried calling, but Nathan told me you'd moved to Seattle and changed your number. Silence on the other end. Then, I'm still in Philadelphia. Same number I've had for 5 years. I sent you 3 messages last month alone. My hands shook around my phone. Sarah, I need help. Something's very wrong, and I can't talk about it at home. Tell me where you are. I'm coming right now. Sarah arrived 40 minutes later, her red hair pulled back in a messy bun, eyes sharp with concern. I told her everything. The cameras, Nathan's control over my mother, the way he'd systematically cut me off from friends and colleagues. How he monitored my finances, my schedule, my life. We need to call the police. And tell them what? That my stepfather cares too much? That he installed cameras in his own house? I stirred my cold coffee. I need evidence of something illegal, Sarah. Something concrete. Then we get evidence. She pulled out her phone and started typing. I know someone who can help. That someone was Evan Cruz, a 26-year-old cybersecurity consultant with a side business, helping victims of domestic abuse document their situations. Sarah knew him through her work at a women's shelter downtown. We met him that same afternoon in a park, safely away from any cameras Nathan might have planted in my car or on my phone. Evan was smaller than I expected, wearing a faded hoodie and carrying a laptop bag covered in activist stickers. Sarah filled me in. The camera situation is illegal wiretapping if you can prove you didn't consent. He sat down on a bench, laptop already out. But you mentioned something about financial control. That's where things get interesting. He handles all of Mom's accounts. He got her to add him after they married? Joint accounts or full access? I'm not sure. She signed something. Evan's fingers flew across his keyboard. What's your mom's full name and date of birth? I hesitated. I don't want to do anything illegal. I'm not hacking. I'm checking public records, credit reports, legal filings. All accessible information if you know where to look. He glanced up, his dark eyes serious. But I need your permission to proceed, and I need to know you understand this might reveal things you don't want to see. I thought about Mom's new lines, her nervous hands, the way she flinched when Nathan raised his voice. Do it. 20 minutes later, Evan turned his laptop screen toward me. Your stepfather has been very busy. The records showed credit cards I didn't know existed, all in Mom's name. Insurance policies with Nathan as the sole beneficiary. And there, a loan application from 6 months ago for $200,000 against the house my father had left to my mother, secured with what looked like my mother's signature. That's not her handwriting. I thought it might not be. Evan zoomed in on the signature. See how the L in Linda loops? Compare it to this document from 3 years ago. Different slant, different pressure points. He forged her signature. Probably, but proving it requires handwriting analysis, original documents, expert testimony. It's a process. He scrolled down. There's more. Nathan Graves has 4 previous addresses in 3 different states, and in each location, he lived with a woman who died or disappeared under questionable circumstances. The world tilted. What? First wife, fell downstairs in their home in Ohio, died instantly. Second relationship, the woman overdosed on prescription medication. Third, disappeared entirely, later found dead in her car, apparent suicide. No charges were ever filed, but the pattern is consistent. Sarah grabbed my hand. Oh my God. There's something else. Evan pulled up another document. Life insurance policy on your mother, taken out 8 months ago. $500,000 with Nathan as beneficiary. And look at the signature date. That was right after Mom's doctor visit. She complained about feeling tired all the time. Has she been taking any new supplements or medications? I thought back to the bottles Nathan carefully doled out every morning. Vitamins. He said they'd help with her energy levels. Evan and Sarah exchanged looks. Clara, Sarah said gently, I think Nathan might be poisoning your mother. The words should have sounded absurd, dramatic, impossible. Instead, they felt like the missing piece of a puzzle I'd been trying to solve for 2 years. We need to get those supplements analyzed. We need to protect Mom. We need a plan. Evan interrupted. A careful one. If Nathan suspects you know something, he'll accelerate whatever timeline he's working on. We have to be smart. Over the next week, I became someone I didn't recognize. I smiled at Nathan over breakfast. I took my medication on schedule. I played the role of dutiful, recovering daughter while secretly documenting everything. Evan helped me set up my own hidden cameras, these ones pointing at Nathan's. I recorded every interaction, backed up every file to 3 separate secure cloud servers. Sarah coordinated with a private investigator named Marcus Chen, a former NYPD detective who specialized in fraud cases. I also started calling the phone numbers Evan found, the families of Nathan's previous victims. Most didn't want to talk. One hung up immediately, but a woman named Jennifer Patterson agreed to meet me. We sat in her living room in Delaware, surrounded by photos of a blonde woman with kind eyes. Jennifer's sister, Rachel. Rachel was so careful about everything: her health, her finances, her life. Then she met Nathan at a charity event. Jennifer's hands twisted in her lap. 6 months later, she was dead. Fell down the stairs in their home. But Rachel never drank, and the autopsy showed high levels of alcohol in her system. Did the police investigate? Briefly, Nathan was very convincing. Grieving widower, shocked by his wife's hidden drinking problem. He even produced empty wine bottles hidden in the garage. Her voice cracked. But Rachel didn't drink. She was allergic to alcohol. Even a sip would make her sick. I told the police that, but Nathan had already left town by then. Left town? 3 weeks after Rachel's death, he took the life insurance money and disappeared. I tried to track him, hired a private investigator, but the trail went cold in Missouri. Jennifer looked at me with hollow eyes. If you're here, it means he's found someone new. My mother. Then save her, because I couldn't save Rachel. I drove home with Jennifer's words burning in my chest. But when I walked through the front door, I found Nathan sitting in the living room with my mother, both of them facing the entrance like they'd been waiting. Clara, dear, sit down. Nathan's smile was all teeth. Your mother and I have some exciting news. Mom's hands were trembling. She wouldn't meet my eyes. We've decided to take a vacation, a real family trip. You, me, your mother, 2 weeks in a cabin upstate, away from all this stress and worry. What do you think? I thought about Rachel Patterson dead at the bottom of stairs, about 2 other women who'd never left Nathan's orbit alive, about isolated cabins and accidents that wouldn't look like accidents. That sounds wonderful, I heard myself say. When do we leave? This Friday. I've already made all the arrangements. 3 days. I had 3 days to save my mother's life. That night, I called an emergency meeting with Sarah, Evan, and Marcus Chen. We gathered in Sarah's apartment, spreading evidence across her kitchen table like pieces of a deadly puzzle. He's going to kill her in that cabin, I said without preamble. He's isolated her, he's been poisoning her to make her weak, and now he's taking her somewhere remote where he can stage an accident. Marcus studied the documents, his weathered face grim. The pattern fits, but we don't have enough for an arrest yet. Forged signatures need verification. The supplements need lab analysis. The previous deaths need investigation. We're talking about coordinating with multiple state jurisdictions, which takes time. We don't have time. I know. Marcus pulled out his phone. But I have a contact at the FBI. Financial fraud across state lines is their jurisdiction, especially if we can prove intent to commit murder for insurance money. If they move fast? They won't move fast enough. Evan had been typing on his laptop, barely listening. Now he looked up. What if we make Nathan think we're not a threat? What if we go on the trip? Absolutely not, Sarah said immediately. Hear me out. We wire Clara and her mom. We have backup nearby. We catch Nathan in the act. Attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud, everything. With witnesses and recordings, there's no way he walks away. Marcus shook his head. Too dangerous. Too many variables. It's the only way to protect Mom right now, today. I looked at each of them. Because if I refuse to go, if I make Nathan suspicious, he'll find another way, another time, and I might not see it coming. We argued for 2 more hours, but deep down, we all knew Evan was right. This was our shot. The next 2 days were a carefully choreographed performance. I played excited about the trip. I helped Mom pack. I smiled at Nathan and thanked him for planning such a thoughtful vacation. All while wearing a wire so thin it was practically invisible, while Marcus coordinated with FBI agents, while Evan tracked my phone's GPS, while Sarah prepared to follow us with backup. Friday morning arrived too quickly. Nathan loaded suitcases into his SUV, whistling cheerfully. Mom looked pale and exhausted, but she managed to smile when she saw me. Are you sure you're well enough to travel, honey? I'm fine, Mom. I hugged her, whispering against her hair. Trust me, everything's going to be fine. The cabin was 3 hours north, deep in the Adirondacks. Remote, isolated, perfect for Nathan's purposes. As we drove, he kept up a steady stream of cheerful conversation, pointing out landmarks, discussing the hiking trails we'd explore. I watched him in the rearview mirror and saw a predator counting his prey. We arrived around 2 p.m. The cabin was rustic but comfortable, surrounded by towering pines with no other houses visible. Nathan immediately started carrying bags inside, directing us with his usual controlling precision. Linda, you should rest. The drive tired you out. Clara, help me unload the car. But Mom grabbed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. Actually, Nathan, I'd like Clara to help me settle in first. Woman things, you understand? Something flickered across Nathan's face. Annoyance, calculation. Then the smile returned. Of course, dear, I'll get everything else. Inside the cabin, Mom pulled me into the bedroom and closed the door. Her whole body was shaking. Mom, what? I found these in Nathan's bag. She held up a bottle of pills. They're not labeled, but I saw him moving them from another container, one with someone else's name on it. I took the bottle, my heart racing. How long have you known? Known what? But her eyes said she knew exactly what I meant. About Nathan, about what he is. Mom sank onto the bed, suddenly looking 20 years older. I suspected for months. The way he watched me, controlled everything. How tired I always felt after taking those vitamins he insisted on. I found a letter addressed to Rachel Patterson in his office. A love letter, dated after she supposedly died drunk. Tears spilled down her cheeks. But I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to think I'd let that man into our lives, into our home. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was afraid and ashamed. And by the time I worked up the courage, he was watching everything I did. Every phone call, every email. I couldn't risk putting you in danger. She grabbed both my hands. Why did you agree to come on this trip, Clara? Before I could answer, Nathan's voice called from outside. Ladies, everything all right in there? Just fine, I called back. Then lowered to Mom. I'm wearing a wire. The FBI is coordinating with local police. Sarah's an hour behind us with backup. We're going to catch him, Mom, but I need you to be strong a little longer. How long? Until Nathan makes his move. We didn't have to wait long. That evening, Nathan prepared dinner. Grilled chicken, salad, wine for the adults. He was particularly attentive, serving Mom first, making sure her plate was full, her wine glass filled. To family, he toasted, raising his glass. I saw him palm something as he set Mom's wine down, saw the tiny tablet dissolve in the red liquid. To family, Mom and I echoed, but Mom didn't drink. Neither did I. We just held our glasses and smiled. Nathan frowned. Linda, you're not drinking. I'm feeling a bit off. The drive, I think. Wine will help you relax. Drink up. Actually, Nathan, I'd prefer water. His mask slipped, just for a second, but I saw the rage beneath the charm. I said, drink the wine, Linda. Mom set her glass down. No. What did you say? I said no. Mom stood up, and despite her trembling hands, her voice was steady. I'm not drinking that wine. I'm not taking any more of your vitamins. And I'm not staying in this cabin another minute. Nathan's face transformed. The charming stepfather disappeared, replaced by something cold and calculating. You stupid bitch, after everything I've done for you? 2 years of planning, of patience, of playing the perfect husband. He turned to me. And you, little Clara with her suspicious eyes, I should have dealt with you in the hospital when I had the chance. Is that a confession? I asked. Because I'm recording everything. I saw the realization hit him, saw him process the wire, the setup, the trap we'd laid. For a moment, I thought he'd break, collapse, or run or beg. Instead, he lunged for my mother. Nathan was fast, but I was faster. 2 years of feeling helpless had taught me to prepare. I'd taken self-defense classes. I'd practiced scenarios. And when he reached for Mom's throat, I was already moving. I hit him with the wine bottle, the one meant to poison my mother. It shattered against his temple, and he staggered. Mom grabbed the kitchen knife. I kicked his knee, and he went down hard. By the time Nathan recovered enough to fight back, the cabin door burst open. FBI agents poured in, followed by local police, followed by Sarah and Marcus and Evan. Nathan tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. They had him surrounded, and this time, there were no charm or manipulation or carefully staged accidents to hide behind. This time, there were only handcuffs and Miranda rights and the cold reality of justice. Nathan Graves, you're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, insurance fraud, forgery, and interstate flight to avoid prosecution. You have the right to remain silent. I stopped listening. I just held my mother while she cried, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt like I could breathe. 6 months later, I stood in a community center downtown, facing a room full of survivors. The support network Sarah and I had started was growing faster than we'd anticipated. Turns out there were a lot of people who needed help recognizing and escaping predators like Nathan. Nathan himself was awaiting trial on 17 counts across 4 states. Evan's evidence had opened investigations into all his previous victims. Rachel Patterson's family finally had answers. So did 3 other families we'd found in the process. Mom was there too, healthy again after 6 months off Nathan's poisonous supplements. She'd started volunteering at a domestic violence shelter, turning her experience into something that could help others. The hardest part, I told the room, was admitting I needed help, that I couldn't save my mother alone, that asking for assistance wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. A woman in the back raised her hand. How did you know who to trust? I didn't at first, but I started with one friend, one honest conversation. And that conversation led to another and another until I had a whole team of people who believed me and wanted to help. I looked at Sarah, sitting in the front row. Sometimes survival isn't about being the strongest person in the room. It's about being smart enough to build a network stronger than any predator. After the meeting, a young woman approached me hesitantly. She was maybe 22, with nervous eyes and a familiar haunted look. My stepfather just moved in with my mom. He's really nice, but something feels wrong. Is that crazy? I took her hand. It's not crazy. Tell me everything, and then let me introduce you to some people who can help. Because that was the thing about surviving Nathan Graves. It wasn't just about my escape or my mother's rescue. It was about using that experience to help others see the warning signs, to trust their instincts, to know that feeling wrong was enough reason to investigate. 3 months later, that same young woman called to thank me. She'd documented her stepfather's controlling behavior, his financial manipulation, his systematic isolation tactics. With our help and a good lawyer, her mother had divorced him before he could cause real harm. One more family saved, one more predator exposed. On the 1-year anniversary of that night in the cabin, I visited the cemetery where Rachel Patterson was buried. Jennifer met me there, and we placed flowers on the grave together. She would have liked you, Jennifer said. Rachel was always trying to help people too. I wish I could have saved her. You couldn't, but you saved your mother and yourself, and now all those people in your support group. That's Rachel's legacy now too. Every person you help is someone she's helping through you. I thought about that as I drove home, about how trauma could transform into purpose, how pain could become protection for others, how surviving wasn't just about living through something, but about choosing what to do with the life you saved. Mom was waiting when I got home to our new apartment, the one Nathan Graves had never entered and never would. She'd made dinner, and we sat together talking about her day at the shelter, my upcoming advocacy conference, the book we were writing together about recognizing financial and emotional abuse. Do you ever regret it? Mom asked suddenly. Going to that cabin? Putting yourself in danger? I thought about Nathan's hands reaching for her throat, about the wine glass and the pills and all the carefully laid plans that would have ended with my mother dead, and him collecting insurance money before moving on to the next victim. No, I said, because the alternative was losing you, and I'd risk anything to prevent that. Mom squeezed my hand. You know what Nathan never understood? He thought isolation made us weak. But really, it just taught us how strong we could be when we finally broke free. She was right. Nathan had tried to make us victims, but instead, he'd created survivors. And survivors had a way of multiplying, of finding each other, of building networks that no predator could penetrate. My phone buzzed. Another message in the survivor support group. Another person ready to share their story. Another opportunity to help. I smiled and picked up my phone, because this was the thing about surviving Nathan Graves. It was just the beginning. Thank you, my loves, for watching until the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the newest videos.